UPS training doesn't sound the most exciting kind of training, and but the applications for UPS are massive, and it's one of those things that if we actually remember UPS, I think the customer will be happy, and we'll be happy because less product will be coming back. We've partnered up with Upsonic for many, many years. I couldn't tell you how many years. So many years I don't know. And we're one of Upsonic's distributors. So yeah, one of the points that John was just making a second ago is that UPS is no longer an IT exclusive product. It relates to a lot of different industries. And one thing that I tend to explain to customers is the old wattage equals VA. So every time our voltage drops, our amperage ups, and our equipment isn't entirely happy with its amperage going up high or down low, especially in the audio game. So yeah, we've partnered up with Upsonic because these guys really get their hands dirty. They can do a lot of custom work for us, and the value for money is exceptional. And you'll find that when you're doing quotes, even for whole house systems, it's extremely affordable now. We had a system that we were quoting up a month or two ago, and it was a 10 kVA UPS that we had to use. The house had a control system, so if the power went down, they'll need a programmer to go out, do everything. Hugely costly. When we looked at a UPS, it was amazingly affordable. So yeah, lots of applications, and yeah, I'll pass it across to John.
This presentation is an overall view of UPSs and how they can be used. Traditionally, people think of a UPS as plugged into a computer. That's changed. Computers now are generally laptops, or they can be PCs, or even computers or tablets. Generally, the need to have a backup on those is not there. So UPSs are now changing. They're going into more applications where lumpy power is experienced in other items of our life, and how that happens. So this is just an overview of UPSs, how they work, what they do, and a bit about the company. So Upsonic, been around about 34 years, 100% Australian owned and operated, been out west of eastern suburbs for all of that time. First company to introduce the small office, home office UPS, long time ago. Sold about 70-odd thousand of those. We're a distributor market focus. We do not sell to clients. We talk to clients. We'll size equipment for clients, but we don't talk to them. If you need any technical expertise or support, we're happy to provide that to you or to them directly, but then we will come back with a quote to you. So use us as a resource, but we're not going to go and, we don't want your customer. We want to support you and give you and your customer the best experience. We have a 1-800 support number, which is 24/7, so we can give you an answer anytime you want, and it's always answered by someone. You don't actually get a recorded message. So what is a UPS? Most people think of it as this, an emergency power support device, and generally that's what it does. But it's also a battery backup device, so it is a power pack, definitely. It's also a power conditioning filter. In Collins Street, about 15 months ago, I did a quote for a little laneway that had 42 cameras. And I said, it's a lot of cameras to have a little laneway, and they said actually there was close to 300 cameras in the laneway. And because of that, they were all causing a leading factor on the power and making the power signal very dirty, to put it bluntly. And so they used the UPS as a power conditioning system. So you don't always need a UPS just to give you power support. It can also clean up a signal. It's a power protection device. It has surge protection built in to around 8,000 volts. So it will absorb that, and generally the UPS will die and be sacrificial, but the downstream equipment will be safe. So people will ring you up and say, we had a big power spike and my UPS is smoking and it's died, you know, this is terrible. And you go, and the equipment it was supporting downstream, and they'll say, that's fine. You'll go, well, that's perfect. That's what the UPS should do. You want the weakest link with the most non-critical item, and that in this case is the UPS. So a UPS is designed to be sacrificial to keep whatever's downstream okay and working. So because of that, it's a money-saving device. If you had a very expensive security system and you had a power spike, it would be a third the cost or quarter the cost to replace the UPS compared to the security system. Types of UPS, with two types I'm going to talk about which we sell. The line interactive. A line interactive measures the power coming in, monitors it, and if it drops, it will boost it. If it goes up too high, it'll buck off the additional power, but it just monitors that signal going through, and it'll adjust the power to the downstream equipment. Because of that ability, whatever's downstream will last longer because it doesn't get power fluctuations. We all experience power fluctuations in our equipment and we are conditioned to ignore it. If you want an example of that is, every 2 times your internet provider renews your contracts, you get a new modem with no charge given to you. You unplug the old one, you put it safely away to use it sometime, and it collects dust, and you plug the new one in. That is because statistically, they know that that online piece of equipment is going to die. So rather than you ring up 3 months later irate because you've got no internet, they simply give you a new one. So it's a fact of life that items do, while they're constantly online, wear out. So they do that, they condition us not to think. We think we're getting a new contract, we got heaps more data, we got faster internet, and we got a new modem, great. We don't realise that they know that the old modem is dying. So yeah, UPS will protect equipment that we don't always think of. Line interactive is good for industrial applications. It's very robust design, it's very rugged, and it's a cost-effective option. Typical line interactive can be laboratory equipment, can be to run an AC motor, can be anything that has very large fluctuations in power and you want to just support that. And they're cost-effective option. True Online is a high-end product, very high output efficiency, very pure signal. That has the power come in, goes through an AC to DC converter, runs through all the batteries, and then it has a DC to AC converter and then back out. Because of that, very good power signal, very clean double conversion technology. It has a virtual software design. Virtual software means that you can monitor that UPS anywhere on the globe. So you can program it with software so that that'll tell you when it's got a problem. And it has extensive communication options because generally everyone picks something different. Types of Upsonic products, we have the Orion, which is a small line interactive UPS. Very good in the point of sale market and small home office. I'll get into that later. Medium, which is from sort of like 2 kVA up to 10 kVA. And then we move into the tower and the rack. And then we also have a bigger range, which I don't think you guys would see much of yet, but down the road, who knows. And they're big single and 3-phase units, and they range from about 5 kVA up to about 60 kVA. This arena is now being taken over by a small to medium business. So a clinic would be operating in this sort of range, for a hospital, small hospital, or a day surgery, or somewhere with say 5 to say 20 computers, you'd be in that range. And then we've got our really big stuff, which wouldn't see a call for. These are big modular units. They're 20 kVA modules. They're expandable up to 9 different systems, and we can get up to 900 kVA with those. Not that you need them, I just want to show you that we have that range. So starting off with the small one, this is the probably highest selling point of sale UPS that I know of in Australia. There's 2 other copies of it. Numbers, I've forgotten, last time I looked it was about 48,000. Perfect point of sale UPS. Generally you've got a counter and then a small counter underneath. This can go on the little half counter. It's got a very small footprint. You can stand it up, plug everything in from the front. You don't have to go in the back and find all different plugs. It's very easy to plug in. It's got an audible alarm, so you'll hear if there's a problem. It's got a fax support. Very easy. It's got surge and backup protection. It's got a very fast recharge time of 90% to 4 hours. You never want anything to recharge 100% quickly because it'll destroy the battery. You can't charge up a DC battery quickly. So we do 90% of it quickly and the last 10% slowly to prolong your battery life. Use to replace the batteries, although generally we do them here, I believe. Other cheap options in this market you'll see won't have Australian plugs. They'll have IEC plugs, so the client or end user has to buy an adapter. And these can be wall mounted. There's 2 screws on the back. You can't even wall mount them if you like. There's one of these in just about every petrol station in Australia, and they're used in the point of sale and also to back up the PLC computer chip on all the pumps. So if they lose power for a couple of seconds, that supports that memory of how much fuel's gone in each Bowser. Otherwise, when you lost power, they would all go back to 0. And then people would all tell you they hadn't put any fuel in when they had. So yeah, so that's an application used for those. The domestic series, which is another one that you guys would sell a lot of. Any small applications come with from 2 to 4 plugs, range from 600 VA to 2000 VA. They've got a little microcompressor in, so they've got a nice little screen which tells you power in, power out, voltage and any loading if it's on battery. They've got the same automatic voltage regulator, so they have a buck and a boost function, so they'll buck off excess. And they've got a green function. European EU standard came out in 2006, said everything on standby power has to use less than 1 watt per hour in standby, so we filtered down to the global market, and these have a green function. It's less than about 50 watts. So if something less than 50 watts is plugged into this will go to sleep thinking there's nothing there. So that can be an issue with some people plugging in very small power demand items. It has a 2-year back to base warranty. 3 is on the electronics, 2 is on the battery. Back to base means if they send it back to us, we will repair it under warranty and send it back to them. We have recently now decided that you guys will assess the batteries here, and if they're flat you'll just tell us and we'll just send out new batteries, so your turnaround will come up a little bit quicker now. They have a phone line protection, so you can plug a phone into a phone line or a fax line in and protect them, and they have a graphic display with a visual and audible alarm. All small UPSs, all UPSs have the ability to automatically shut down whatever's downstream. They'll automatically give you a reader, and you can often have an email setting on a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, so that they can email you if there's a problem. But every single UPS we sell has software management tools. And they give you things like whether it's online or bypass or battery, the battery performance, the load on the UPS, the voltage, the current, and what you've got in reserve. And so all that software is there, updatable and downloadable on our website. Our industrial series, which is the ES and ES-ART, and the AR is a rack tower configuration. Rack tower is because this little control panel here can come out, rotate 90 degrees and go back in, and the rack can become a tower. In the rack application, it has little ears here to mount, so you can mount it onto a rack. On a tower, the box comes with feet down the bottom, so you can stand it up. When we get to this range, the biggest difference between this and the last is these now have additional battery power packs you can plug in. You can plug in up to 4 battery banks on these. So you can now go from 5 or 10 minutes support time, you can now go to 8, 20 hours if you want, just plugging in more battery packs. That's a battery pack there. That one has, I think, 16 batteries in. So the industrial series, very high inrush application. The high inrush is an electric motor, any sort of high load that comes in. These work very, very well in a dusty environment. Dusty environment because the fan on these sucks air in through air holes throughout all sides to cool the transformer on it. And very high area with a fan gives you a very low surface pressure. Best way to explain that is the opposite. High pressure would be a vacuum cleaner, very small nozzle, air coming in, sucks up all the dirt. This is the opposite of that. So lots of cooling, but it doesn't get dusty in them. So very good for dusty environments. These are transformer based, so they'll do a repetitive high load start into overload, day in, day out, forever, and it will never ever hurt them. So very, very robust, grunty design. They have a pure sine wave output. Sine wave is, we probably all know sine wave, you probably all know that, but the other ones, the Line Interactive has a modified sine wave, which is a bit like a digital signal. It's squared off. And these have a pure sine wave, so it's a nice flowing signal. Basically anything where the motor is modified, and just thinking right now what Michael said before, a turntable has a modified AC signal. You would want a pure sine wave on that for the best signal. You can't put a modified signal on a modified motor. So you can't put a Line Interactive UPS on a turntable because the turntable motor modifies the speed and you can't have a modified sine wave. They won't work, it won't register, it won't pick it up. Yep, and these have limited applications on communication, but generally not required. Then we get into our IT series, ranging from 1 to 10 kVA. Again, we have the tower and the rack tower again, application. There's your tower, there's your rack tower. These have very fast support times, so you won't lose any signal from losing power to going online. Laboratories, test equipments, high-speed data communication, anything like that, this is what you'd be using. Cloud-based, so the remote monitoring. IT-based standard is the IEC plugs. Generally these have lots and lots of plugs and lots of inputs. They're a double conversion, so they've got a very, very good signal and very good sine wave outputs. They have multiple connections on the back, so you can use an RS-232, you can use a dry contact, you can use a USB-C, and there's more which I can't think of. I think that's most of them. Dry contacts, RS-232, USB-C. Yeah, I think it must be all. That's the idea. And then getting up to higher, which I know you guys won't have much call for, but I'll run you through these quickly. This is our industrial series. This is phases in, phases out. So 3 phase in, 3 out, single in, single out. From 6 kVA to 60 kVA. Very high handling capacity. These have self-aging technologies where they'll look at the batteries and they'll see how they're performing and they'll report back. So generally these units need to be serviced on a yearly basis. We come in and we look at that aging and we can project how long the batteries will last. So we're getting into critical applications where they have to have these things online. Very high capacity charger options, 5 and 12 amp chargers, can do multiple batteries and big batteries. They age and they monitor all their critical. They cold start, you lose power, they'll bring the whole system back up online. And you can parallel up to 8 of these, double conversion. They've got multiple circuit breakers, so they've got very high surge protection, the network configurable, and they've got all sorts of protection for all sorts of different things. I know you guys probably won't use these, I just want to show you that they've got the options there. And then we've got the bigger RM series, which bigger again, basically up to 4 units, multiple battery packs. Again, you don't need to know this, it's just that you see a small part of our company. So why do we need a UPS? There's lots of different power issues we have. We have a power surge, which most of us know about. We have a brownout, which you'll only pick up on like overhead lighting, like these lights will go a little bit dull. That'll be a brownout, and that is a power supplier generated issue. That's not an accident, that's something that when they haven't got enough power to put into the grid, they wind the power supply back so that less going out goes further. So that's done by an energy provider. Power sags, you get power loss, you can get harmonics, which you guys know a lot about, and all of these just interrupt our lives. A lot of times we'll buy an electrical component and it will die because of one of these, and we will blame it being a cheap Aldi product or a cheap Coles product or an IKEA product, which I don't do electrics, but we'll blame the supplier, nothing to do with them, it's to do with the actual power quality coming in. So how to size a UPS? We need to know the load in watts or amps or VA, that's fine, we can do that. We can look up specifications if you can't, or you can't get hold of them. What the client's runtime is, and their runtime is always going to be ridiculous. You know, they'll want a small UPS and they'll want it to back up for 5 days and they'll want it for $10, always. So you've got to say, well, that's going to be a lot of money and you've got to bring them back. So you need to bring their expectation down. We need to know the criticality of the load, how critical it is. The more critical, the more we have to go to more specialised equipment. And lastly, just whether it's a rack or tower. Lots of people now, even in homes, want a rack type application. Places where UPSs are used in the home now have varied. They've gone out of just the IT computer room. They now go to all the smart home support systems. So when they've got a smart home, they put a UPS in. That means it'll reboot and look after it when they go overseas. It means that if they have a power loss at home, it'll send them an email or an SMS saying you've lost power. So, and in the software you can nominate up to 8 people you can send an email to. So yeah. Garage doors, those industrial UPSs, the ESAT range, we've sold about $500,000 worth of those to just the door industry. They are the probably biggest selling UPS in garage doors, commercial in Australia. This one hasn't really hit yet, but it will. NBN and internet support. Your new NBN phone line, if you've got one, is not supported when you've got no power. But the nodes they put in, the local nodes, all have backups. So if you have a UPS on your home internet, you will have signal. But if you lose power to your house and don't have a UPS, yeah, they don't know about it though. Electric gates, we can support those, and underground car parks surge pump protection. I sold a 20 kVA to a place in Bentley. Yeah, Bentley. And I was staggered, 20 kVA. And it was a very wealthy person. And they had $2.5 million worth of cars in the garage. And one was lost and one was half repaired. One was fully repaired, one was half repaired, and they couldn't actually recover it. So I thought they wouldn't spend that sort of money, but I didn't realise he had so much money in the garage. UPS in the office, well, of course, it looks after our data and it stops file corruption. We all know that when you stop a hard drive, when it's in middle of its operation, it can damage and corrupt the hard drive. So it also avoids hardware damage. That's the power conditioning, the surge protection, and also the battery backup. The stress, you get stress with all these different types of power issues. The stress comes off the product and is put onto the UPS. The UPS, being the most sacrificial item in your stream, is definitely the best option. NBNs we've talked about. VoIP, it'll look after a VoIP system and support that. Again, the same as the NBN, because the node in your area has batteries in it. So as long as you can support from your office to the node with a UPS, that will work. And also it allows safe shutdown of your IT equipment so that you can boot up properly. One of those I had was where they printed the side of trucks. They had a big printer and it cost them about $60,000 to do a side of a truck. And when they lost power, the whole printer stopped and we put a UPS in to support that. In the workplace, servers and hard drives, we do more and more of that. All critical communication systems, they're not just like comms, they're also things like gate entry exits, smart card exits. There's a party upstairs. And support your IT conductivity throughout the building, and sometimes throughout different buildings, like groups of buildings. Security systems, just about always want a UPS now. If you sell a security system, they should be buying a UPS, definitely. Because there's no good recording something once the power stops and then comes back on. You want to record it when there's no power. FPOS systems, if you do a transaction and it stops halfway through, the money comes out of your bank, but it doesn't necessarily get to where it's going, and it will come back in a couple of days. If it doesn't get assigned, it just comes back. And that's okay if you've got that amount of money spare in your accounts. If you haven't, you have to wait for that money to come back. Customers get very, very irate. If you've got a UPS on it, that doesn't happen. Supporting critical power systems, we're now doing UPSs into movie theatres. They've got the emergency lights front and back. They've got a generator on the actual video film machine. Projector, that's what I'm looking for, thank you. We're now doing the emergency lights. I've never had that before in my life. And PLC control for lifts and elevators. You don't need a big PLC, you don't need a big computer. To do a lift, it's only like a 2 kVA, very small UPS, line interactive. But we do all of the lifts at Federation Square, and they just tell the lift where it is, so that when the power comes back on, it knows it's halfway between two lifts, two floors. Just not that you do hospitals, but just to give you an overview. In hospitals, we do operating theatres. Adelaide Hospital has got 47 operating theatres. They're all backed up by both UPSs and generators. Pathology and testing equipment. Vaccine fridges, this is a new market for us. We're starting to do this. We've tested with about 6 or 7 different fridge manufacturers, and we're now selling these quite a lot. A vaccine fridge will have between 10 and 40 grand worth of stuff in it. When that's out of temperature range, which is above 8 degrees for more than 30 minutes, the product is thrown away. They put a claim on insurance. Insurance pays it out, restocks that chemist, that pharmacist, that hospital or medical centre, and you and I pay for it. And there was a study done in 2015, 40% of all vaccines in Australia are thrown away, and there's now a new government directive coming in to change all that. And that's coming out this year, so we're preparing for that. Comms systems, we look after all of Ambulance Victoria. Blood collection and processing, we also support Red Cross Blood Bank. When you go and donate blood, have you ever seen those little machines that that keep rocking. They've got a UPS on them, that's so the blood doesn't congeal. So be processed. If it didn't have that and the blood congealed, it's cleaned the whole line, quite expensive. Security systems and access systems, they're all backed up now. You've got systems where people have card access. There's more and more of that. We do UPSs for those. And of course, patient records are backed up. On the farm, just gates, NBN, computers, hard drives, stock water pumps, remote irrigation systems. Again, that's PLC control more than the actual pumps, and PLC. So people will be asking for UPSs where traditionally never ever asked for in the past. Types of power loss. We've got a blackout. Most of us know what that is. It's when either you haven't paid the bill or we get lightning, we get a grid overload, car accident, or someone can't drive a bobcat or an earth mover properly and takes out some underground power. Generally we all know about that because it's generally a power outage all over the place. But new things that now are being affected by that weren't in the past is electric doors sometimes won't open, or the opposites, some security places, all the doors open. We're actually getting asked to back them up so that doesn't happen. When they lose power, all the doors open, and that can be really bad in a security place. Elevators stop working, and swipe card access may not work also. People like Dormacabre are now giving you a home entrance system where you just have a touchpad or a keypad to get into your house. Of course, you lose power, that won't work, will it? So you need a backup on that as well. A spike is a dramatic line increase in voltage. It doesn't last long, and it's very hard to find proof of it, but it will destroy electrical equipment. Big reason for hard drive damage. Hard to actually find it, but it's where you get a really cooked hard drive for no issue. A surge, a short-term surge, is where in industrial areas, as we're now moving more and more centralised and getting together, we're getting more and more massive power fluctuations and losses. Where I live, in Bayswater, there's about 680 odd units. And everybody at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning gets up, puts a kettle on, puts a heater on, puts the lights on, puts the stove on, has a shower, puts the fan on, does all this, and they all go to work half an hour later. So this causes a big power spike or surge. It damages electronic equipment, surveillance equipment and cameras, very bad for that. And it puts heat stress on a lot of components, reducing their life. A brownout, this is a brownout, as I said before, this is where the energy provider doesn't have enough supply to meet demand, so they turn the power back. They don't tell you about that. The only way you can see a brownout is generally the overhead fluoros go a bit dark. That's where you get the brownout colour from. Very, very harmful to equipment because they can wind it back, like a 240, wind it back to 190, 195 watts. And as Michael said before, when your voltage goes down, amperage comes up, very lot of stress on your equipment. And again, this is one of those things that damages equipment, and you get a product that's been in the market, sold to the client 6 months ago, they come in and they say it's all damaged and you don't understand why. There's no reason for it. Often it can be power supply, nothing to do with the product, nothing to do with the product at all. A SAG is large electronic equipment turned on or off. This is more your country areas where they've got big pumps or big air conditioners or big evaporative coolers or big motors all starting up and turning off, and it causes sag, which then interrupts your power supply. And noise, this is one that you get with sound and recording studios. All the variable speed drive motors and escalators, that they save money. An escalator, I don't know if you've noticed this, they don't stop escalators anymore, they just slow them down. And then when you get on them, they speed up. And this is because of the inrush. It's a very high power demand, high power usage and cost. By just running them slowly, it saves a lot of power. That interferes with the communication of the line, and you get a lot of noise on the lines. And all of that, when it comes to audio, is a problem. So yeah, you get all these sorts of issues. This is more computer-based, but in sound systems you get a lot of noise and a lot of issues. A power conditioner or a UPS will clean up that signal. So you've got someone that's really high-end audio, a UPS or a power conditioner will fix that problem. We have a website, which I've actually, done this wrong. I've missed out the seeing. Just noticed that now. All of our brochures are on there. We are a distributor. We don't want to sell to a customer. We don't want to talk to a customer in a sales environment. Technically, we're happy to deal with them. So we're happy to talk to your customer and work out what they want. When it comes to the sale, we'll simply give you the information. If you want to know models or brochures, you can get all those from our products and then our technical support page. On our website, we've got all our product information. All our most current brochures are on the website. We've got items including power conditioners, PDUs, and other related products. We've got other products that you may not want, but they're on there. We have all our service information. If ever you get a hassle from a customer asking you about, why those service conditions are like that, you can just refer them to our website and say, that's the ones that we have to abide by. It takes the heat off you. We do service all our products, and we do them locally, and we get them serviced anywhere in Australia. We can do that. Our warranty information, which is, I explained before, the 3.2. We also have our software downloads on there if they want to get software or update it. And we've got another page which is a bit silly, our frequently asked questions, just in case people want to know when to use a passive filter, which I've never been asked for in the past. How to sell a UPS. A UPS is not something that people go out and want. It's like a fire extinguisher. They don't want to buy it. When they need it, they wish they had it. So you can tell them all about the features of the UPS and that'll just go straight over their head. They don't really care. You can tell them all about the functionality of the UPS, and that's so they understand how it works. That's also reasonably good. But what you will sell is the benefit. And the benefit's what's going to sell. And very good analogy of that is when someone goes to Bunnings and wants to buy a drill, they're not there for the drill. They're there for the hole in the wall. So if you know what sort of hole they want in the wall and give them the tool to get the best hole in the wall, the sale will follow with the UPS. So you're never going to sell a UPS on its features or its functions. You're only going to sell it on its benefits. So, for example, a UPS can support NBN. Well, that's the feature of it. But the benefit of that is then the kids are happy because the internet and the phones still work, so they're not going to be a problem. If they're happy, then you haven't got a problem. That's the benefit you're selling. A garage door, well, a feature of having a UPS on a garage door is it'll open it when you've got no power. Fantastic, big deal. But when you can still get to important appointments, when you can still get to a doctor's appointment or get to work on time because the garage door can be opened, that benefit is what the customer needs. They don't care that the garage door will open, but the benefit of not being late for work, that's what you're going to sell. And a security system, it's not backing it up that's the benefit. The benefit is that when they cut the power off, you can actually identify who did it, and the goods can be retraced and their goods can be returned. That's the benefit that they want. So by selling the benefit, you will sell the UPS. And that's the end of my presentation. Any questions? Yes?
some sort of calculator to know which UPS to sell to a customer. Like we've got our NVRs and that.
Yep.
Like we've got a 48 volt 5 amp power supply, and we struggled to. We needed some time how long it will last.
Yep.
Type of UPS.
Can you send me the link to the page of where yours are, and I'll do a size for you on that. I'll give you I'll put a table together for you. It's not a problem. Once you've done a couple, they get quite easy. I'll work it out. When I work it out, I'll tell you. Any other questions?
Just about the pure sine wave or non-pure sine wave
Yes.
outputted by your UPSs. Is there like a lower price range ones to?
All line interactive.
Yeah.
Not all. The Orion and the DSV are a modified sine wave. Everything else we have is a true sine wave. But your modified sine wave won't work on a modified signal. A modified signal would be something that has a different speed, where it can be electronically changed, turntable, garage door that has a variable speed, or a variable speed pump, or anything that has a different speed. Yeah. If you just ask yourself, if the motor runs at one speed, that's fine, and a modified will do it. If it's going to change in any way, it needs to be something more. By all means, if you've got any questions, use Upsonic as a resource. We're now working with all the fridge manufacturers. We have done all the roller door manufacturers 2 years ago. We've got every single roller door motor. We tested them all. We gave them a list of what they need and what they do. And now that's one of our biggest markets. As I said, over $500,000 worth. And it's because we do that research, and we'll do it again there, and we'll just tell you what you need, and we'll work it out. And then once you've got a map, you know where you're going and what to sell. That's what we do. We're happy to do that with that sort of resource for you. Any other questions? Beauty. Okay, thank you.